Well, hi, I'm Briana. I just finished my fourth year. I'm a PhD student in the Department of International Health and Sustainable Development. I'm currently working on my dissertation so that hopefully I can graduate soon.
Wonderful. And so, how does it feel to be the first student to defend your prospectus in the program?
It was honestly a little bit nerve-wracking for sure, just because like nobody had gone before me, and so it was like a new process for everyone. But I feel like my advisor and like the head of the PhD program, like they both were really helpful and kind of like walked me through it.
Could you just tell us what drew you to public health?
It's actually funny. I did not start in public health. I was an engineer and I
Wow.
was doing like biomedical engineering. It was really cool and interesting, but it was also like very expensive and like not accessible. And I kind of saw those public health problems in my engineering field. And so I kind of decided to switch. I spent a summer in Guatemala doing public health work as a part of my undergrad, and I fell in love with it. And so I kind of decided to pursue it and get my master's and my PhD.
That's wonderful. And why did you choose Tulane specifically for this?
I mean, there are a couple of different factors. I've always kind of been interested and drawn to Tulane, and after I was able to research a few of the professors in the International Health Department, and like they were doing work that I was really interested in, like something that I am really passionate about is working in Latin America. And in a lot of places and a lot of programs, there aren't too many people working in Latin America, and so I think that Tulane had established relationship in a few different countries, and so I was like, this is I think going to be a good opportunity for me to do what I want.
Could you tell us what you're working on right now and why you think it's important?
Well, right now I'm working my dissertation. It is mixed methods, and I'm kind of investigating sexual and reproductive health for Afro-descendant, like young people, adolescents. And so my first part is a quantitative piece where I'm doing like some intersectionality analysis to kind of see if skin color, race, discrimination like have an impact on sexual and reproductive health. And then the part that I'm doing, in Lima in person, are my two qualitative parts. The second part, technically my dissertation, are interviews with like activists and doctors and like community health workers around Lima, and well, it's been around Peru actually, and kind of get a landscape of like sexual and reproductive health for adolescents, and where the gaps are, if there are any kind of facilitators to good health. And so that's the part that I'm finishing right now. And then the last part is that I'm going to do a couple of human-centered design focus groups with like young people, young Afro-Peruvians, to hopefully kind of create some sort of like education or some sort of like portion of the sex ed curriculum that they already have that is more kind of culturally tailored and informed to Afro-Peruvians.
That's really fascinating. And could you also tell us who is Ashanti Peru and how you've built a relationship with them?
Ashanti Peru is a great organization of young Afro-Peruvians that do a lot of like activism work. I kind of linked with them because they have like a portion of their organization that's very focused on sexual and reproductive health rights. They are basically, all activists, and they're all working to kind of better the, lives of Afro-Peruvians.
That's wonderful. And so I'm curious, so you're working on sexual and reproductive health of Afro-descendant Peruvian adolescents in Peru. What are some of the main issues you're working on? And can you just tell us what your work looks like?
It's been really interesting. I've talked to a lot of different people, and I've also, traveled with Ashanti a little bit to kind of see the communities and learn from people in those communities. And honestly, there are lots of issues, but what I've really seen, which is kind of similar to the US, is that like there are really like big gaps in access to healthcare, and there's also like a very big mistrust in the healthcare system, just because like what I've heard in my interviews is that they're pretty hostile environments for Afro-descendants, especially when you're talking about sexual and reproductive health. There's like the hypersexualization of the Black body, which happens like in society, but also happens, if you're going to the gynecologist, which is, super like hostile and violent if you're trying to go and get help. And so those are kind of the biggest things that I've seen. But also, like I said, I'm kind of interested in like sex education, and what I have also seen is that like sex education is very much not standardized at all, and like they have a program but nobody knows how to use it. And like one of the biggest problems that I've seen in Peru is just the implementation. So like they have really good laws and policies and programs and things that like activists have fought for, but the implementation of them is horrible, and so nothing actually, gets done.
And then finally, I'd just like to know about your life outside of public health. Do you have any hobbies or interests that you really enjoy?
I love sports. I like playing basketball, and like I very recently got into like paddle, which is, I know, a thing that's coming up. I also love music. I like love going to concerts and live music and stuff, which is why I love New Orleans. I also love food,
Yeah.
which is a great place for, like Lima was amazing because
That's amazing. I bet New Orleans too. You're going to some of the best food cities imaginable, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally I've been very lucky.
Well, thank you so much, Brianna, for taking the time to talk with me. This has been really interesting.